How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be continuing my Sharks of Summer series. For those of you guys who are new, Sharks of Summer, basically every week during the summer, I'm going to be reviewing at least one shark movie, and today's pretty special because it's not just a shark movie, it's a Troma movie. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with Troma, Troma was an independent video distribution company. They also made a lot of their own movies. Them and Full Moon were two very active studios, especially during independent horror and during the VHS rental era. I have quite a few Troma movies and quite a few Full Moon movies as well, and I need to review more of them, so I'm glad that Sharks of Summer gave me a chance to review a Troma film as well. This is Samuel Fuller's Shark, so we're doing Sharks of Summer and doing a movie literally called Shark. Glad to get to this one. Shark from 1969, directed by Samuel Fuller, and stars Burt Reynolds, Silvia, Pinal, and Arthur Kennedy. Burt Reynolds, this is 1969, much younger, but also pre-mustache, which is pretty interesting for Burt Reynolds. He still has a fair amount of stubble, but not the iconic Burt Reynolds mustache that we're all used to. So that is pretty interesting. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few of the plot points, as well as make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the movie's about. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. This movie opens up on a scene with a scuba diver, which actually is pretty common for shark movies. I've been watching a few of them, and a lot of them open up this way. Scuba diver diving around a mysterious wrecked ship. What is he looking for? We don't know, but he's quite quickly eaten by a shark. This scene, it is kind of noteworthy. There's a few musical stingers, but other than that, pretty low on the audio. Not really much music, no dialogue. Really quiet, just him swimming around this creepy ship. It is kind of interesting, although very, very quiet. But there are a few musical stingers, like I said, but I couldn't help but think how nowadays there'd be something there, you know? Anyway, we then cut to this guy's funeral. Everybody's sad that he's dead, and his employer, this lady, is there giving condolences and some money to the family. And she leaves and meets the other employer, this older professor guy. So you get a beautiful lady and an older professor, and they're up to some sort of scheme. Why did they send the man down? They didn't say they sent the man down. They just said, oh, he dived and he shouldn't have done that. But they sent him down there. They wanted him to do something. What are they up to? Well, you get them talking and they say, okay, we need someone who doesn't know about us. We need someone desperate who needs us as much as we need him. And then it cuts to Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds is doing some smuggling, and the Border Patrol stops his car. They snoop around the back and find something, which leads to him stepping on the gas and getting out of there. There's a bit of a car chase scene with some fun explosions, and Burt Reynolds seems to have got away, but he loses control of his car and jumps out as the car careens off a cliff and, of course, blows up. So Burt Reynolds is now left with nothing, and he wanders into this town, a mysterious outsider drifter character. He hitches a ride, he hitchhikes, and it's kind of funny, you know, the old attitudes of the time. He hitchhikes, and then he's in the back of the car, and he's half asleep, and they pull up like, hey, we're in town now. And he's like, give me a room, just give me a hotel. And it's like, you're hitchhiking with this guy. He gave you a ride, and now you're like, hey, give me a hotel too. I'm too tired. And you just sleep. He's just sleeping in the back of this guy's truck, and this guy has to help him out, probably more than he wanted to. But he checks into a hotel. He surveys the area around him. He meets some wacky characters, you know, the hotel manager, the drunk doctor, the local policeman, and he also meets this character, Runt. Runt is a local young boy who is up to, you know, some stealing. They meet because he tries to steal Burt Reynolds' watch, which is one of the few things he has of any value. He chases him down and says, "Hey, that's not how to be a good thief. If you want to get into crime, let me teach you." And the two kind of form a friendship, which is pretty interesting to see there. He eventually crosses paths with the two scheming individuals, the woman and the professor, and it's kind of this funny thing where the woman goes, "Okay, we need him. I'm worried he might not want to come with us. I will try to romance him in order to get him to do what we need him to." And meanwhile, Burt Reynolds is like, "Okay, I need this job. I need the opportunity to make some money and then get out of here." He wants to make sure he gets the job, and he goes, "Okay, I'm gonna romance that woman in order to get the job that I need." So they're both flirting with each other, trying to get the other to do what they want without realizing they both already want to do what the other one wants them to. Kind of a funny scheme there, but they eventually hire him to work on the boat. He knows about engines and he knows about diving, so he's a perfect replacement for Muhammad, who died in the opening scene. But of course he begins to suspect something's up. There's backstabbing and double-crossing and plotting and, Burt Reynolds running around this town. And there's some interesting parts. The biggest thing with this movie is it is young Burt Reynolds, and you get to see him being this energetic, wily character, and that is pretty cool. And some of the auxiliary characters, Runt's pretty fun. The drunk doctor is interesting enough. And some of the auxiliary characters are fun as well, but this is really more seeing young Burt Reynolds in this wily type role. These type of movies, you can tell that they were the inspiration for what you'd later get like Indiana Jones or Romancing the Stone. They would take these adventure movies. This takes place in the Sudan, and it's people who are just wandering through and seeing parts of the world that the audience wouldn't normally see. So these are adventure movies, and you could tell that they were the inspiration for these films later on. Obviously not near as good, but it is kind of interesting to see movies that helped inspire movies later on. So a cool early adventure film. That being said, 1969, not everything holds up. You get music, 1969 music, which quite often doesn't really fit the situation, is too over the top and weird. 1969 music, do-do-do-do-do, during a chase scene, that stuff. You also get some things that don't hold up. The hotel owner is very fat, and Burt Reynolds just calls him Fatso. That's his name to Burt Reynolds now, and that would seem very rude by today's standards. You also get scenes where like a kid is smoking, which definitely wouldn't do that nowadays, and there are a few moments like that in this movie. But the biggest thing with being 1969 is, quite unfortunately, this film's audio and picture quality. This has that classic old-timey movie barely preserved, with the whites really blown out and the darks really dark. And I feel like nowadays, if we have any of the original elements, we could probably do a pretty good cleanup of this movie. Troma did the best that they could, but still, the audio and the picture is not the best in this, and that can make it hard to watch. Like I said, if I got any of the plot details wrong, the audio is kind of rough here. But in the introduction, Lloyd Kaufman actually talks about this. He said that him and Samuel Fuller, they wanted to present a director's cut with more of the footage. Some of the footage was thrown out that the director would have rather had. But the studio, unfortunately, didn't save anything other than the base movie, so all the extra stuff got thrown away, and that's sad. And what they did have of the movie itself isn't the best preserved, and I kind of wonder what you could do with this with modern software, but kind of a rough treatment for this poor film. But film preservation really wasn't looked at as an important thing until a little bit later, and that's kind of sad. Movie props and sets and the film itself thrown away. It's not great. But in addition to the time, there are a few other things with this movie. This is called Shark, and you do get the shark protecting the mysterious boat, and there is mystery with that. And the shark stuff is really cool, but that's not most of the movie. This is one of those movies where you get kind of far into the runtime, like you look at how long you've been watching and it's like an hour and you're like, how did we spend this runtime? Where did it all go? Because not much has happened in the movie. And you get lots of stuff where he's just talking to someone, talking to the police, talking to the drunk doctor. The drunk doctor gets a lot of screen time in this movie. And it's, one of those movies with way too much dialogue, and it kind of suffers for that. And nowadays you kind of want to, cut to the chase more. You want to see more shark stuff. You want to see more adventure, and that's not really everything in this movie. It does go pretty slowly. Now, when they do actually show the sharks, it is pretty cool. This is obviously way before CGI sharks, and also animatronic sharks wouldn't have been near as viable at this time, so they used real sharks, and you do get some of that cut between a diver and the shark, the actor, the shark, and you do get some cutting, but there's actually a lot of interaction. You do get to see the divers with an actual shark in the same frame, pretending to fight it, pretending to stab it, and it looks really good. There is some quick cutting to hide the fact that, it's not actually what's going on. The shark's not actually attacking, and they're not actually fighting back. So you do get a little bit of fast cuts to kind of hide this, but it's not near as bad as what would come later. And plus, actual, real sharks in the same frame as the actors. When you get to the shark stuff, which is kind of few and far between, it actually looks pretty good, and I really do like this. But, and there's a but coming, quite unfortunately, one of the stuntmen did wind up dying, and obviously no film is worth dying for. It's very sad that this happened. It's undeniable that the footage looks good, though, but some stuntman did get apparently bit by a shark and died. They actually post photos of it in, what was it, Life magazine, so it's kind of weird, but a tragic accident that, kind of does make these scenes harder to enjoy, but that being said, they still do look good, and you have to give it that. So that is something noteworthy. But this movie, overall, is okay. It's a lot more talking than Sharks. It's one of those movies where you're watching it for a long time, and you're like, what did we do for most of this runtime? And all that talking things, you get Burt Reynolds there. Good, enthusiastic actor. He's fun to watch, and some of the side characters are. But when the audio isn't that great, and a lot of it's talking, not necessarily the best. The parts that are good are pretty good. Like I said, the shark stuff, and when it does heat up at the end, the climax of this movie is pretty decent, but overall pretty slow and not the best. If you're fans of 60s movies and you know what to expect, like if you go, oh, blown out picture, bad sound, I know that stuff, because I have seen blown out pictures and bad sounds from several older movies in various parts of my collection. You probably know what I'm talking about. If you're used to that, but you just love the 60s aesthetic, then, you can probably find some enjoyment out of this. Those of us who want to see a young Burt Reynolds, definitely cool to see an early film from an actor that would get much more famous. And there's some interesting stuff when it does heat up, when you get the shark parts. It's pretty cool. All the other movies surrounding that, kind of slow. And the bad picture and audio, that's just, film preservation of the time, right? So not the best thing, but to its audience, to the people that this will appeal to, the Burt Reynolds fans and the 60s film fans. And hey, a shark movie before Jaws was actually a pretty rare thing. Jaws really did spark this, and you do get to see a pre-Jaws shark movie, which is actually pretty cool. I meant to mention this earlier. Shark, they made the title to focus on the shark element. This is actually based on a book, His Bones Are Coral by Victor Canning. So you can see kind of originally going to be an ocean adventure book, but change it to be the shark angle. Like I said, really rare to see a pre-Jaws shark movie. But anyway, it is what it is. Fun enough for what it is, but not the best thing ever. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You are really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you want to see more, you can click there and see more. This should be my shark movies playlist. If you want to see what other shark movies I've reviewed, you can find them right in this playlist here. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.